All right, welcome back to the Zero Technique Football Podcast brought to you by backsportspage.com. It is good to be back. I had to take quite some time off for some personal matters. Unfortunately, I lost my father about 2 months ago, so it's just been tough to get back in the saddle. But after a day like today, I felt that it was absolutely necessary to get back on, and who better to join me than my last year partner in crime, Marthani Sanders. How's it going, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. Today has been crazy for sure. like
My goodness.
I tell some of my other friends, man. I tell them it really doesn't matter the time of the year. Somehow, some way, the NFL is gonna find a way to make a headline and steal the show from everybody. Like right now, it's supposed to be you're thinking it's strictly like getting ready for the playoffs with the NBA and the NHL, and then the March Madness with the NCAA tournament, and then all of a sudden it's just boom. Here comes the NFL, it's just stealing the show every year. It seems like it never fails.
Yeah, I mean, Rich Eisen said it perfectly. He said there is no off season; it's just the playing season and the non-playing season.
Yep.
Uh, there always seems to be something that's going on. Usually, the only downtime is may in between OTAs and training camp, because then you're past free agency, you're past the draft, you're past the first real mini camps. um, Teams are sort of evolved and they're formed by then, so that maybe month and a half in between mini camps and training camp is maybe the down, but there's always something that will
Right.
eventually come up. But yeah, we are right in the thick of the non-playing season right now. We've got the new league year starting next week, which means the start of free agency. Uh, then we got the draft. We had the combine last weekend, and so did you get a chance to watch any of the combine?
I did. I saw the first night. So with the was it the tight ends, the quarterbacks, and the receivers? I think that first night. Um, and I saw a little bit of probably Friday too as well. That's all I really got a chance to catch. But man, this draft class coming in, it doesn't matter what size, what position they play. It's burners like everywhere.
So I love watching the combine, and I'm one that, like, I'll watch every minute. I record every single minute of the combine. Uh, it was a crazy weekend. I was not able to get through everything. I am currently on day three, which is the beginning of the defensive players. But I did get a chance to go through the offensive players, and I loved how it always used to be set up. It was during the day. They weren't focusing solely on ratings, but now they moved it into prime time. And the one thing that really upset me is because they moved it to prime time, they also moved the bench press to the same day that they were going to run the 40s.
Right.
So there were a lot of kids that either didn't run the 40 because they did the bench, or didn't do the bench because they ran the 40, because they didn't want to do both on the same day. And I can understand why. That's a lot when you're trying to show off, and they call it the world's biggest job interview. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. I just didn't like the format for this year, and it seemed to. And we also saw that not a lot of running backs were able to run the short shuttle and the three cone because they ran out of time. I did not like how they formatted it this year. I wish they would just go back to the original format where they had a lot more time and they didn't have to worry about a cutoff. Uh, this way, everybody's able to get their fair share out there.
Yeah, I think the old format works better than what they did this time. I mean, because either way, whether you see it or not, you're gonna catch it on social media. You'll get the notifications. You'll see the tweets. You'll see the posts. It really doesn't matter. Like if you can't catch it in live time, like you said, DVR, you can go back and watch it yourself
Right.
anyway. So you might as well just have it like they used to do it. Just do it throughout the day. You can get everything done. There's going to be no problems of saying, "Oh, we ran out of time," because that sounds absurd to even say, like for the combine. Like that should not happen.
Right. And the one thing that really seemed to bother me was the whole unofficial times thing. And yeah, we've always heard the term unofficial time, and especially when it comes to the 40s, where the shuttles, yeah, it's a lot easier to get closer with the shuttles than it is with the 40s. But the 40s, we always heard that term unofficial time. But usually the unofficial time was within maybe 1 to 3 hundredths of a second at most. We have Tyquan Thornton, who the wide receiver out of Baylor, who while we're watching it live breaks the record for the fastest run at the combine, and then when he ran, it posted at a 4.21, and then the official time came back at 4.28, and he's like not even in the top 10. Uh, the, there was something off about this year's combine.
Yeah, I don't understand what's with the unofficial clocks either, because for some reason this is the worst I've seen it be off
Yeah.
from unofficial to official. Because there was even an argument about Calvin Austin III out of Memphis, how
Yep.
the official unofficial is the 4.32, but everybody else was like screenshotting and clocking was saying they had to be at least 4.2 something. Like there's no way it was.
And then with James Cook, the running back out of Georgia, they did the simul the where they the layover, whatever
Right.
they call it, where they put him and Dalvin on at the same time, and Dalvin clearly beats him, and then it was look, he had a faster time than Dalvin. Now I don't know if it was the first or second, but yeah, there was something off. Something of it. Maybe we got some agents putting some money in the pockets of some people over there at the combine, saying,
uh,
Give my guy a few extra hundredths of a second."
let's not talk about betting right now. Let's not talk about betting right now.
uh, uh, but then what was the one that really shocked me was Kyron Williams. The running back out of Notre Dame, who I thought was going to blaze because of the fact that he didn't come in as big as some of us were hoping he would come in at. He was under 200 pounds. I think that's what around where he played at, maybe a little less than that. He came in, I think, at 194. But I think because of the fact that he came in at under 200, a lot of people were expecting the 4.4 4.5 area for him, and he was around 4.7, which might have cost him a lot of money come the next month and a half or so.
Yeah. Sometimes for me, like looking at 40 times, at times it can be overrated. I mean, obviously it's a numbers thing, but
Right.
I mean
And
it holds true to some people. It does make or break you as far as where you position to get drafted. So
right, and but there are a lot of people who just play faster in pads, and
right.
that's why I would love, and it'll never happen, but I would love to see these drills be run with the kids wearing pads, because there are a lot of kids who the especially the lighter ones who come out and put up blazing fast numbers, that they put on a heavy set of pads, and it slows them down so much more than some of these bulkier guys. That's why I think that the one that really that shocked me, and maybe made his name to be the second running back off the board, was Kenneth Walker the third
Right.
out of Michigan State. he is one of the bigger running backs, and he ran a really fast time. So I thought he made himself a lot of money. But yeah, so yeah, there's the combine. We'll talk about that, but let's get into the news of the day. And obviously, we started off with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, it gets announced this morning, 4-year extension, $200 million, over $150 million guaranteed. A lot of that is in signing bonus, which is why they were able to bring down the cap number, especially over these next 2 years, which I think are the 2 years that he actually will play on the contract. Maybe we see him retire, and the Packers get a break on the cap number after 2 years. But then we get Aaron Rodgers after all of the other big news that happens, because everything has to be about Aaron Rodgers. And he comes out on Twitter and he said, "Yes, I will be playing with the Packers next year. However, reports about me signing a contract are inaccurate, as are the supposed terms of the contract I quote unquote signed. I'm very happy to be back." Yeah, come on. This is, and
Dude.
I guarantee you, I know exactly why this tweet went out, is because he wanted to announce it on the damn Pat McAfee show.
Oh, yeah, bank that for sure. He definitely wanted to do it on there instead of someone else tweeting it out for him.
Yeah, because like I said, everything has to be about Aaron Rodgers. What it gets done on his time. I used to be a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. Now, you all know, for those of you who know me, who have watched before, I'm a big New York Giants fan. I do not like the Green Bay Packers, but I've always been a big Aaron Rodgers fan. His antics over the last year or so have really flipped the switch for me.
Yeah, I just when I saw it, I was just like, so what was the point of everything of the last season saying this is, trying to compare to Jordan and this is the last dance, and then you come back and you still it was like
It's
for
because it's
what? What
all
was
about
this?
the money. It's all about the money. It's not about respect. It's not about him trying to make a case for being the greatest. It's about the money, and it's always been with him.
I mean, dude, he's 18 years in though. What made plenty. He had
Well,
plenty of bank.
yes, he's made plenty. He's never been the highest paid quarterback in the league. So I'll give him that. But again, he's also been, very rarely has he been a free agent. It's been extensions, it's been 1 years, and it's also been on the heels of other enormous contracts. Again, we saw, what was it, last year, when he signed the 1 year or 1 or 2 year extension. That
Hmm.
Patrick Mahomes signs that mega deal. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers and is now the richest in terms of, again, assuming these numbers that are being reported are the correct numbers, and I'm going to say they are, even though Aaron is going out there saying, no, these terms are not. Yeah, they are. They are. We're just waiting. Uh,
Man,
yeah,
150 million. That's NBA money. That's
yeah,
there's no way that is not gonna that the numbers aren't accurate. And as far as him saying whether he's signed it or not, dude, just sign
yeah,
it, dude. Just go ahead and sign it and go on by today. Come on, man.
yeah. Um, but as I said, probably the bigger news of the day was the blockbuster trade from the with the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson, the franchise quarterback of the Seahawks, traded to the Denver Broncos, and boy, Denver decided that they're all in. If you want to say anything about them, they are all in. bring up the terms of the trade. Seattle gets back Drew Lock, who will probably start the first couple games of the year. Then they'll realize he sucks. Just like Denver realized he sucked, even though we all knew it beforehand. Noah Fant is a real interesting piece. And defensive lineman Shelby Harris, who was really good. I think that's maybe the biggest key in of the three players is Shelby Harris. I think he can be an impact player for the next couple years. Then they also get 2 first-round draft picks. Those picks are the first round pick this year, which is ninth overall, and Denver's first rounder next year. Same thing with the second rounders. It's Denver's picks this year and next year. And then it's a fourth and fifth round swap this year.
Mm.
So number 9 overall is now where the Seahawks will have the first of their draft picks. And there's one name that comes to mind, and I know a lot of people are in love with Kenny Pickett, and I mean he had a great season. I think he's going to be a pretty good NFL quarterback. To me, if you're transitioning from someone like Russell Wilson, there's one player that sticks out to me, and that's Malik Willis out of
Yes,
Liberty.
sir.
I think that is a terrific transition for that franchise should they decide to go quarterback this year instead of maybe waiting for one of those big guns next year.
Yeah, when I first saw the details of the trade and everything broke down, I was like, holy crap, that's actually pretty good by Seattle to get all of
Yeah.
that. And then I was like, especially if the first rounder was going to be this year's first round, I was like, that's really even good. And everybody that I kind of know talking about it was just like, but why would they trade? Seattle wasn't winning anything anytime soon with Russell Wilson there anymore. I mean, the 49ers loaded. We see what happened with the Rams.
Yep.
I mean, Arizona is up in the air because with the whole Kyler Murray situation, but that division itself alone is loaded. We didn't even mention any of the other NFC teams, so it was time. It's just it was time for that to just go ahead and happen. So and they can, like you said, they could go either way with it. They could stock up the draft capital, let Drew Lock stink up the place for 2022,
Yep.
um, and get one of the quarterbacks from next year, or they could go ahead and take a quarterback in this year's draft, which I think for them it'd be more Malik Willis too, more than Kenny Pickett. Um, Especially, I guess it just depends on what happens, beforehand. Because with Atlanta being right there at 8, there's the quarterback
Yeah.
talk there too. So it just depends, but gonna be interesting to see what they do with that. But I mean, a lot of draft capital that they got, so they can kind of, you know, dip their hand and see what they want to do. If they want to take the quarterback, I'm with you. If they go quarterback this year, I say you take Malik Willis if he still is there on the board. I mean, if not, then play your hand. Like I said, let Drew Lock think up the place. Get one of the quarterbacks next year. I mean, they a lot of great picks that they got right there that they can do with just a rebuild. I mean, obviously Seattle went full rebuild mode. It was time for that, and the Broncos went all in. They've seen it happen the last 2 years, so I guess they're thinking, why not us? It's interesting to see what happens with Russell going to Denver.
Yeah, don't be surprised if you see Denver try and bring back Von Miller. Because and Von's gonna now go on a championship tour. He's gonna at the end of his career, he's gonna sign a 1-year contract with whoever he thinks has a good shot to win a championship. So, but he's comfortable in Denver. He's loved there. The Denver fans love Von Miller, and I think that they also need a piece on the offensive line.
Yeah,
Uh, I would not be surprised to see them make a play at either a Terrell Armstead, from New Orleans, or even maybe a Brandon Sheriff, the former Washington. It, this is my first time being on air since they've become the Washington Commanders.
That's gonna take a lot of getting
As
used
someone
to.
who as someone who roots for a team in the same division, I got I was very familiar with their original name, and it took a long time for me to then go over to football team. And now I've just been using the name Washington for such a long time that I don't know if I even want to think about going about using the term Commanders. I may just keep using Washington from here on out because I'm not going to remember it.
Yeah, I probably won't either, so I'm gonna just stick to Washington too. Because saying Commanders, yeah, I don't know. Because it took me a minute to stop saying Oakland with the Raiders, them
Yeah.
being in Vegas now. So I can imagine how I'm gonna be saying trying to say Commanders.
San Diego. And San Diego
Oh,
Chargers. I still say San Diego Chargers. Um. All right. Continuing with first let's wrap up with Russell Wilson.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do think if I had to make the decision right now, I would say Seattle probably wins this trade unless Denver wins a Super Bowl over the next 2 years. I think if they're able to stand out and boy is that division tough now. Boy is that division tough. You've got maybe two of the three best young quarterbacks in the game with Mahomes and Herbert. You have Carr, who is never going to be that elite guy, but he's not going to be one that's going to lose you games.
Yeah, right.
Um, but the Raiders made the playoffs last year. The Chargers were on the brink, and they made a big play today, bringing back Mike Williams on a big deal. And then you have the Chiefs, who have won the last four divisions. This is going to be one of the best divisions, maybe in football over the past like 10 years.
Oh
That
man.
both Western divisions are going to be absolutely brutal this year.
And guess who plays each other this year?
Yeah, yeah, and Denver plays in Seattle this year,
Yeah,
so Russ will get a chance to go home out
you
there.
get them. I mean, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see. I had a couple of friends ask and was thinking like, well, it's the move is great, but can he being Russell Wilson, can he win in Denver? I mean, it's going to be a challenge just in that division alone,
Yeah,
and the fact that this year they're going to have to play the NFC West. Um, even though Denver is going to have the fourth place schedule, it's just you just never know what's going to happen. Obviously, it just depends on number one who can stay healthy
right.
the most, which because I think that's what kind of played into Cincinnati having such a great season themselves because the other teams in their division, I mean,
Yeah,
before week one, Baltimore is already like decimated with injuries. So it just kind of helped along that way. And then, I mean, a little luck has to go your way and everything like that. So, I mean, I don't know. All squads fully healthy. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, but, we never know. That's why we just let the games unfold and see what happens.
yeah. And then yesterday we actually had a big news break, and it involves your team. We and I know this is why you said don't bring up betting earlier on in the show. Um, Calvin Ridley. Now here's where my being a fantasy football player. I'm in 3 dynasty leagues. One of them I have Calvin Ridley in. Saturday I get a trade offer. Someone wants Calvin Ridley from me, and he offers me Bryan Edwards and a first round draft pick. I
Mm,
say no.
mm.
So I go back to him last night. I said, I'll still do that trade if you want. He goes, I'm sure you will. Yeah, so Calvin Ridley, He left the Atlanta Falcons because of he said he needed to get mentally healthy. Then during that time off in November, he goes down to Florida and makes $1,500 worth of parlay bets. And he goes on Twitter to reiterate the fact that he only made $1,500 in bets. Now, and that he doesn't have a problem. You know what? If you make a $1 bet as a player in the NFL, you have a problem because he bet $1,500 and lost 10 million. He lost out on $10 million worth of salary and potential bonuses this year because of $1,500 worth of bets. Now that's bad odds.
I don't look. I don't have much to say. It just wasn't. I mean, it wasn't smart. It's just when you just to boil down to it, and I know there's a lot of gambling Twitter and everybody else is putting in their 2 cents, and is a year suspension is it harsh? I guess, but at the same time, it's like you have to
But
understand like who you are, what you're doing. You just can't do that.
it's been the going rate for the four times it's happened in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah. I mean,
It's been what the punishment has been handed down in the past, and yeah, I mean there's signs in every single locker room telling you that you cannot gamble on any games. And it's not just in NFL locker rooms, it's in baseball locker rooms. Thank you, Pete Rose. Um, but it's also in NBA locker rooms, it's in NHL locker rooms. Why? Because now you have all these partnerships between the leagues and these casino sites that allow sports betting. And this is really the first time that we're hearing of something coming down from one of these leagues in terms of the sports betting. And I'm interested to see, does this now cut back on them sort of promoting these leagues? I'm interested to see what the NFL is going to do because they're now in the spotlight because of this whole Calvin Ridley thing. Are they going to keep promoting these gambling sites on a regular basis?
it puts them definitely. It puts the league in a tough position for sure, just because I mean, just how much promotion and everything that they've done from it. And I'm pretty sure how well it's taken off for them. And then for this to happen now, it's like, well, do you continue on to do it? And then if you do, um, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some folks that's wanna say a lot of bad things about it and want to call the league hypocrites and anything that you can think of, the whole 9 yards. There definitely is going to be some possible backlash from it if they continue on to heavily promote it as if nothing has happened. Um, it definitely puts them in a tough spot for us the NFL, because this is the first league that have to deal with this, which also kind of makes you think, are the other leagues dealing with this? Just knowing, has anybody gotten caught yet,
Right.
or
Well, so I the interesting thing is that it was reported last night that it was actually the casino that was able to figure it out based on the agreement that was made between the NFL and the and the casino sites, that they're able to utilize, whether it be social security numbers, addresses, and names. That's how they were able to track that it was Calvin Ridley that made those bets. So it's going to be really, yeah, really interesting to see. Uh, where the NFL goes in terms of promoting all of these sites. Uh, over the last maybe even hour or two, we had two more big news items that broke. Uh, the bigger one, and we're going back to the Seattle Seahawks. Bobby Wagner. We we saw the Seahawks traded away their heart and soul on offense. They're releasing their heart and soul on defense. This is now over the last 10 years. The cornerstones of each of the sides of the ball are now going to be gone in Seattle.
Shocked. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's all I could think of was just shocked. Obviously, I mean, I know I said earlier that they were in rebuild mode. It's definitely like showing now the fact that getting releasing Bobby Wagner. Because I definitely didn't see that come. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Obviously, I know like pretty much every year it kind of happens. There is that one release that kind of like throws everybody off. It's just I just never thought it'd be Bobby Wagner. I would thought maybe they would let him do it his way on his own terms. He meant so much to that Seattle defense. I know everybody talks about Legion of Boom and Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas,
Oh,
Cam Chancellor, but Bobby Wagner made that team go on defense.
there is no Legion of Boom without Bobby Wagner. He did so much for the front seven, whether it be in pass against the pass, taking away the middle of the field. Very underrated in pass coverage. Maybe one of the top 10 run stuffing linebackers over the last 25 years. Maybe probably a top five over the last 20 years or so. And leadership. There's nobody that wore that C better on the defensive side of the ball better than Bobby Wagner. He was Mr. Reliable. Yes, is he towards the end of his career? Yeah. The writing is on the wall. I was shocked that it was a straight release instead of maybe a reworked contract, because I think Bobby Wagner would have reworked his contract should they have decided to go that route. So, um, I mean, this, shocked. Shocked was the word that you used. Shocked is a great word to use when it comes to Bobby Wagner being released. Then we also saw Harold Landry. The Tennessee Titans had announced earlier today that they weren't going to be placing the franchise tag on Harold Landry. Uh, and then a few hours later, they announce a contract that it's going to be 5 years, $82.5 million. So we're looking at 17.5 a year for Harold Landry uh, out there in Tennessee. He had 12 sacks this year. Certainly somebody that I loved coming out of Boston College in the draft process. See, he had a scouting combine that a lot of people were disappointed in. And I think before the combine, people were talking about Landry, maybe in the top 10, top 12 range. He falls to, I believe, the second round for Tennessee, and he's finally starting to live up to what I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, I think it's well deserved. He really earned it. Uh, he really got to the quarterback a lot for
Yeah.
them last season. And I think this is an attest to just how hard he works. Because we know how well like how these last few years Tennessee's been trying to like get that splash player on the defensive line. They tried it with Clowney
Yep.
and the, other players that they've had. But just the fact that somebody that they got within the draft who worked their way to get to where they are, and he earned it. I mean, that's the I stay out here in the Nashville area. That was like the main talk of the town once the season was over. It was trying to get Harold Landry re-signed any way, shape, form, or possible. You heard how much Kevin Byard preached about him.
Yep.
That was just one of the obviously priority number one at hand was to try to make sure he doesn't leave Tennessee. And the fact that they got the deal done, I think that's pretty good. Obviously, Mike Vrabel and Mr. Robinson, they've tried to make sure that they got that taken care of, and they did. And now they can focus on other things that they need to focus on now, where coming up in the draft, or if there's any other moves that they need to make. But they got priority number one out the way, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and Landry has been consistently one of the better run stopping edge players since he came into the league as a rookie. That was always something you could rely on Harold Landry on. We weren't really getting to see the big sack numbers until this year. And contract year, is that something maybe you have to worry about, that he played with that little extra motivation? But I don't think that's the type of player Harold Landry is. I think he's going to grow from here and take on more of a leadership role. So I do think that bringing on Harold Landry for and edge rushers with the capabilities that Harold Landry have very rarely make it to the open market.
Right.
So that's why I think a lot of people were shocked when we heard that the Titans weren't going to be franchising him uh, earlier on in the day. And then, like I said, a couple hours later, he's locked up for 5 years, and should be the cornerstone of that defense going forward. So that's one more bit of news was which I briefly glanced over. The Los Angeles I almost said San Diego. I still almost did it. The Los Angeles Chargers. Now this was shocking. They bring back Mike Williams, big wide receiver, 3 year, $60 million deal. I thought they were going to let him walk.
Yeah, I did too.
They have a kid by the name of Josh Palmer, who from went to school your neck of the woods out there in Tennessee. Um, I was huge, and this again going back to being a dynasty football player, dynasty fantasy football. I loaded up on Josh Palmer everywhere I could because I thought the uh, the Chargers were going to move on from Mike Williams because I thought they were going to look to allocate those funds into other positions. They still do have Keenan Allen. Josh Palmer is going to be a very good wide receiver 3 next year. I still think he can offer a lot of value for the Los Angeles Chargers. What does this mean for Justin Herbert?
I, obviously, I think that just there at times, obviously, there was the big connection there for between him and Mike Williams, especially early in the season
Yeah, the
last year.
first half of the year.
It seemed like that it was there, so I think they played into it, of them working out a deal to keep him and everything like that. I don't know. I thought his overall body of work wasn't enough for him to kind of stay, because I know the first couple of years he was dealing with a lot of injuries. Um, it seemed like every it seemed like every
And,
week it
and,
was
and
something with him.
I remember the episode of Hard Knocks when the Chargers were on, and all they want to do is put him in a bubble because he goes up for a ball and he lands hard. and he came down on his shoulder, and they were like, "Oh, now are we going to be missing Big Mike for quite some time now?" In order for this contract to make sense, he has to be able to stay on the field. And it's just not something that he's been able to do on a consistent basis throughout his entire career so far. So they're putting a lot of faith in his ability to show them something he hasn't been able to show them as of yet.
Yeah, that does make me nervous. But I think long term, or the time that they have for that contract for it, They think that obviously him, Keenan Allen, and Palmer can do something together with Justin Herbert, and obviously, and then Austin Eckler in the backfield. So and then they keep shoring up that offensive line if they can keep it together. I mean, obviously they want to have a lot of firepower, and they pretty much, which they've done since day one, but they're giving Justin Herbert the keys, to this and letting him do whatever he wants with it. So there must be some type of report that they that had it that worked out enough for them to say, hey, let's get this deal done. Let's keep you here for a couple more years, and
I'm trying to
hopefully
think.
there's some incentives in there for him to have to stay healthy to earn that contract. I hope they
Yeah.
just didn't give it to him.
No, it's 3 for 60 is the base. So uh yeah. I'm
I
trying
don't
to
know.
think. I'm trying to think of the timeline and see if and remember if it was before or after the news that the Broncos were trading for Russell Wilson that they decided to bring back Mike Williams. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. And I think a lot of people were wondering, did Denver end up making the move for Russell Wilson because they heard earlier in the day of the Aaron Rodgers news? But it sounds like that this has actually been in the works for a couple weeks, and the Broncos were the only team that Russell Wilson would have waived his no trade clause for. I know there were a lot of rumblings month or so back that he would do it for the Giants or the Bears also. I was personally come on. Russell Wilson is a great quarterback. A great quarterback. He's not somebody that a team that is trying to rebuild should go out and acquire. If the Giants gave up what the Denver Broncos gave up for Russell Wilson, that would set them back so far because they've done so much to acquire this draft capital that all it would have done would be to just totally throw that out the window to bring him onto a team that isn't ready to compete for a championship.
Yeah, that would have been tough for sure. I mean, you would have hoped that he would just get to somebody where it be they just need him
Right.
essentially, and
Right.
then they can go from there.
That a team that was a quarterback away. And you know what? The Denver Broncos played well last year with awful quarterback play.
Yeah,
That I mean, between Bridgewater and Locke, that it was bad. You put Russell Wilson on that team, and now you also have three wide receivers who are locked up for the next 3 years with Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick. One of the reasons they were able to get rid of Noah Fant is they love them some Alberto. Alberto Quebunam, the tight end, think he's going into his third year now out of Missouri. They love Alberto out there. They felt that Noah Fant was expendable because of the fact that Alberto is ready to take that next leap. So this is a team that's ready to compete. They've been one of the most consistent defensive teams over the last dozen years, and I thought that they were a quarterback away from being a true contender, and now they got him. So they do need to fix the line, but Russell Wilson is, if you're going to have any quarterback in the league to play behind a shaky line, Russell Wilson's going to be one of those guys you're going to want to think of because he's been doing it for a couple of years now in
right.
Seattle.
And they got a nice complementary pieces in the backfield too, because that's something that he didn't have in Seattle these last few years, to where he could not have to do everything by himself. He can hand the ball off to Javonte Williams now. As long as they stay healthy, because I think obviously that was the main thing that was going on with Chris Carson
Yeah,
and the rest of those guys.
Chris
It was just they
Carson's a
couldn't stay
nice player.
healthy.
Chris Carson's a nice player. Rashad Penny, hadn't done anything in his career until the final 3 weeks of the season. Travis Homer is Travis Homer. There's been shaky play at best out of the Seattle running backs. He's now going into a situation where he has an up and coming superstar with Javonte Williams. I have a strong feeling they're going to bring back Melvin Gordon on a cheap deal. I think, especially with bringing in Wilson, Gordon's going to want to stick around to get a hometown discount and get a chance to play for a ring. Um, as someone who is a holder of Javonte Williams, I hope they move on from Melvin Gordon because I would love to see those those touch numbers get close to 300 for Javonte. But I do think that there's a good chance they do bring back Melvin Gordon. So I mean, this is going to be a really talented offense.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, that is going to do it for today. Want to make sure everyone's checking out backsportspage.com for all the great content that's going up on a daily basis. They're hammering out all the NFL, NBA, and even got some hockey going on. So make sure you're checking that out. Marthani, want to make sure everyone is following you on Twitter at IM_M Sanders_. I'm at rstern33. Backsports page is at backsports page everywhere. Marthani, thanks for joining me tonight.
Yes, sir, man. No problem. This was good to do. I know it's been a while for all of us,
Yeah,
and it's just with all the news they broke today, it had to be done.
yeah, it was a necessary thing to do. So, again, make sure you are following us. If you're watching on YouTube, click that subscribe so you know when we're going live. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you next week.